I'm glad my sister tricked me into a relationship swap, because watching her implode was worth it. Hi, I'm Mike, 29. And if you told me last year that I'd end up grateful my sister stole my girlfriend, I would have laughed in your face. But now, she's got an STD and regret. And I've got something she'll never have, a real relationship with someone who actually sees me. Let me explain. It started at Sunday dinner, which in my family meant sitting quietly while my sister Olivia turned every conversation into a TED Talk. She was across the table in a designer blouse, sipping wine like it was laced with gold, flipping her wrist so the light caught her manicured nails just right. My girlfriend, Nina, sat next to me, scrolling her phone like she couldn't even pretend to care. That was Nina lately, emotionally buffering. Meanwhile, across from me, Olivia's boyfriend, Will, sat in silence, arms crossed, face bored. He looked like he'd heard this exact monologue at least 6 times already. I assumed he was just dull. Turns out he was just out of energy. Like me. Then Olivia dropped it. Right after dessert. So I've been thinking, she said, with the kind of dramatic pause that would make a movie director roll their eyes. Mike and I should date. And Nina and Will should try each other. Like a couple swap. I laughed. Laughed. Because obviously she was joking. Right? Wrong. Will didn't blink. Nina didn't flinch. Olivia just grinned like a reality TV villain mid-confession. We've hit our stale phase. She added. You feel it too, right, Mike? We've all gone flat. Like soda left open on the counter. I'm sorry, are you having a stroke? I asked, trying to process if she'd inhaled too much of her own perfume. Will actually shrugged. Could be fun, he said, without looking at Olivia. Something different. Nina murmured. I mean, it's just a month. Just a month. Just a month to see if swapping partners like used batteries could somehow rejuvenate relationships that were never fully charged to begin with. I should have walked out. I should have said, you people are certifiable. But Olivia, of course, had already brought a contract. Like a literal, printed, legally questionable agreement. No backing out. 1 month minimum. No early exits. And no tattling to mom and dad. And then she said the thing that got me. Unless you're scared. She smirked. That Nina might like Will more than she likes you. There it was. The bait. What kind of man backs down from that? I didn't. I signed the damn paper. Worst decision of my life, or so I thought. The swap started 3 days later. Olivia sent a group text with what she called ground rules, like we were organizing a trust fall exercise, not swapping intimate partners. Rule number 1, act like a real couple in public. Rule number 2, no complaining to friends. Rule number 3, be open-minded. Rule number 4, no funny business before the first week. It was already absurd, but sure. Why not? If I was going to spiral into emotional chaos, I might as well do it by the rules. Nina moved in with Will. Olivia showed up at my apartment with a suitcase she barely wheeled through the door before declaring, God, your place smells like effort and old laundry. Charming. Meanwhile, I had dinner with Will that night. Yes, dinner. Just the 2 of us, no Olivia in sight, and I swear to you, I was not prepared for what I found. The man could cook. He made this roasted chicken with lemon and thyme and crispy potatoes that made me feel like I'd been dining with raccoons for the past year. Nina, bless her heart, thought seasoning was just a suggestion. Will plated everything like it was an audition for Master Chef. We sat across from each other, awkward at first. Silent, like 2 people stuck in a waiting room with no magazines. Then he broke it. Look, man. I know this is weird. But thanks for not making it worse. I blinked. What does worse even look like in this scenario? Is there a trapdoor coming? He chuckled. I mean, Olivia. She's not exactly easy. I raised my wine glass. She's a walking thunderstorm. Beautiful, loud, and makes you forget you left your windows open until everything's soaked. That actually made him laugh. A real laugh. Not the polite kind. You know she started texting me about this swap 2 weeks before dinner? He asked casually. Wait. What? He sipped his wine. Yeah. She said she was tired of the vanilla retirement home energy. That she needed someone who wasn't afraid of a little chaos. I nearly choked on my food. 2 weeks before dinner, she was texting him? Planning this? She said you were nice, but safe? predictable. She wanted something dangerous. Will continued, looking somewhere past me. Turns out, dangerous means reckless. And reckless gets old fast. I sat back, stunned. This whole time, I thought Olivia was just impulsive. Turns out, she was strategic. This was never a spontaneous joke. This was a setup. And Nina? I suddenly wondered if she'd known all along. Will watched me closely. How's living with her going? I shrugged. I didn't know it was possible to be judged by someone's eyebrows until today. Apparently my pillowcases are too pedestrian. He snorted. That tracks. We laughed. And then silence again, but this time not uncomfortable. Just understanding. Mike, he said suddenly, serious now. Olivia doesn't like when she loses. So if this goes south, just be ready. She plays dirty. I nodded. I didn't know it yet, but this man, my supposed temporary roommate's ex, was giving me a warning I'd wish I'd taken more seriously. Because what Olivia did next? Changed everything. It happened a week in. I got home from a run, sweaty, headphones still in, shirt clinging to me, and found Olivia on my couch in silk pajamas like she lived there. Her laptop was open, her phone on speaker, and her voice? Sugar-laced poison. I'm just saying. She cooed. Maybe Nina isn't as into you as she pretends. I mean, she told me Mike's not exactly passionate. You deserve more, Will. I froze. Will. She was on the phone with Will. She didn't know I was behind her yet. Didn't see me standing in the hallway, soaked in post-workout disbelief, listening to my girlfriend-turned-roommate flirt with my temporary roommate turn something I didn't have a word for yet. Oh, he's cute in that golden retriever way. Olivia continued, laughing softly. But honestly, it's like kissing a vacuum salesman. Reliable, but zero thrill. Will didn't say anything. Just a long pause. Then, Olivia, what are you doing? What do you mean? She replied, all innocence and fake confusion. This wasn't part of the deal. You said 1 month, no drama? This is drama. Relax. She purred. I'm just keeping things interesting. That's when I stepped forward. You want interesting, Olivia? Try not being a manipulative gremlin for 5 minutes. She jumped, turned, and for the first time since the swap, she looked caught. Mike, she said, standing quickly. It's not what it sounds like. Oh, please. I snapped, peeling my sweat-drenched shirt off. I just heard you offer yourself up like a discount promo code. She crossed her arms. You're overreacting. I was just messing with him. Messing with your own boyfriend's replacement? I said, grabbing a towel and wiping my face. Real classy. She didn't flinch. Olivia never flinches. Why do you even care, Mike? It's just a month, remember? You act like we're married. And there it was. That little needle she loved to stick in, right where it hurt most. I didn't respond. I walked past her to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and tried not to hurl it across the room. Olivia's voice followed me. Is this about Will? She asked, smile curling in the worst way. Are you catching feelings? I turned slowly. No. But I'm catching something else. Like clarity. You ever heard of it? She narrowed her eyes. You set this up. I continued. This whole swap wasn't some fun experiment. It was a play. You and Luke. My hand clenched around the glass. You two were already talking. Weren't you? Her eyes flicked away for the first time. Just a second. But enough. You already had something going with him before dinner. I said, voice dropping. That whole performance about being bored, about shaking things up, it was all bait. And then she smiled. Not sheepishly. Not regretfully. Triumphantly. Well, she said, brushing past me like we were done. What can I say? I like winning. I should have felt rage. But all I felt was relief. Because suddenly, everything made sense. Luke's eagerness. Olivia's grin. Nina's detachment. The swap was never about growth or clarity or even fun. It was a handoff. I was the pawn. But what Olivia didn't know, what none of them knew yet, was that Will wasn't the safe, boring placeholder she thought he was. And the second she lost him, she'd unravel. It just hadn't happened yet. But it was coming. The unraveling began, quietly. 2 days later, Will texted me. Coffee? Just us. Neutral ground. We met at this little cafe halfway between his place and mine. It was empty, thank God, No Olivia, no Nina, no weird swap energy. Just me, him, and the low hum of espresso machines trying to pretend life wasn't on fire. He looked different. Relaxed. Black t-shirt, jeans, hair slightly messy like he'd slept more than 6 hours for the first time in months. You okay? I asked, sliding into the seat across from him. He nodded, sipping his latte. Actually? Weirdly, yeah. I feel like I've been let out of a hostage situation. I snorted. Yeah. Stockholm Syndrome in reverse. We sat in comfortable silence for a beat. Then he said, She's texting me. Olivia. I didn't need clarification. Of course she was. Of course. I said. Let me guess, missing your cooking, your arms, your predictable warmth, or whatever the hell she hated last week? Will smiled grimly. She told me she'd delete Instagram, learn how to cook, and be happy living a boring life with me as long as there was still wine. Which, you know, is hilarious. I leaned in, half laughing. She offered to cook? She called me a burnt toast enthusiast for trying to scramble eggs. She offered to meal prep. Meal prep, he said, his eyes wide. We both broke into laughter, drawing a look from the barista. Will wiped a tear from the corner of his eye. She's panicking, I said. She's spiraling. He corrected. It's different. Panic is flailing. Spiral is calculation. She's rotating through every version of herself to see which one gets her back in the door. I nodded. And Nina? Will hesitated. Quiet. Detached. I think she's finally realizing that someone paying attention to you isn't the same as love. That landed. Because I'd spent 2 years with Nina asking for attention like a starving dog at a silent dinner table. Hoping she'd look up. Hoping she'd remember. Will looked at me. You deserve better, Mike. I blinked. You're the first person to ever say that to me. He shrugged, a little shy. Well, it's true. Something hung in the air after that. Not romantic. Not dramatic. Just real. The kind of connection that doesn't ask to be explained. He checked his phone. Another text from Olivia. He turned it face down. I don't want to go back, he said. Even when this month ends. I don't want her. And I definitely don't want to pretend this was all just some hilarious little game. I nodded, heart pounding because I was about to say something I hadn't let myself say yet. Me either. He looked up. I held the moment. I don't want Nina back, I said. I don't want to rewind. I don't want to pretend that swap didn't give me the clearest mirror I've ever looked into. Will's mouth twitched. So what now? I shrugged. We let them spiral. We stay still. He smiled. And I felt it in my chest, that rare, strange sense that something real was finally happening. Not dramatic. Not messy. Not loud. Just steady. Which is probably why what happened next shook me so hard. Because when Olivia realized manipulation wouldn't work, she switched to destruction. It started with a dinner. A real one. Me and Will. Small Portuguese place he liked. Warm lighting. Actual tablecloths. No theatrics. We were mid-appetizer, calamari, perfectly crispy, when a voice sliced through the air like a dagger dipped in fake surprise. Oh my God, what a coincidence! Olivia. She stood next to our table in a red dress that screamed look at me, makeup flawless, smile sharp. She clutched a clutch she didn't need and tilted her head like a Barbie reprogrammed for sabotage. I didn't know you two were, well, this is cute. She chirped, eyes laser-locked on Will. Will didn't rise. He didn't even flinch. Not a coincidence, he said coolly. Please don't join us. Relax, she said, already pulling out a chair. It's a public restaurant, Will. I'm just saying hi. She slid into the chair between us. Dead center. My blood pressure spiked. So, she said, eyebrows up, voice all sugar. How's the little arrangement going? Learning anything new about yourselves? Hope you're not rushing into anything. Rebound relationships, statistically speaking, have a high failure rate. Will kept his eyes on his drink. This isn't a rebound. Right. Olivia smirked. It's real. After 3 weeks and one shared Netflix password, you've found true love. I leaned in, voice low. Why are you here? She blinked innocently. Oh, I was just around. Shopping. Thought I'd pop in. Will finally looked up. Leave, Olivia. Please. Her smile faltered for half a second. I'm just trying to protect you. From this. She gestured vaguely between us. From being someone's emotional band-aid. Funny, I said, coming from the woman who used a relationship contract as an exit strategy. Will stood and dropped cash on the table. We're done here. He took my hand. Olivia's eyes widened like we'd slapped her across the face. You're really doing this? She said. Choosing him over your own sister? I stared at her. You're not being abandoned, Olivia. You're being outgrown. We walked out. But she wasn't done. Over the next week, she followed us. Not stalking, Olivia's too polished for that, but popping up like an app that won't close. Coffee shop? There. Bookstore? Already browsing. Movie theater? Surprise. Same row. Each time she had something to say. I'm just worried about you two. You know Will has baggage, right? Mike's not exactly a risk-taker. Don't let comfort trick you. I blocked her. She made new numbers. My mom started texting me with concerns. My cousin wanted to know why I was being so cruel. My dad asked if I'd considered how this was affecting Olivia's mental health. I couldn't decide what pissed me off more, that Olivia was spreading lies, or that everyone believed her. One night, Will found me pacing in my living room, phone buzzing with another guilt trip from an N I hadn't seen in 5 years. She's rewriting the whole story, I muttered. Now I'm the villain. I manipulated her. I knew you were secretly rich or something. I planned this. He took the phone and set it face down. You're not the villain, he said. You're just the first one in your family to call the main character delusional. I laughed, but it caught in my throat. She's not giving up, I said. She's just regrouping. Will's voice was calm. Let her. But I knew my sister. And silence wasn't surrender. Silence meant she was aiming for the kill shot. The silence lasted 6 days. No texts. No pop-ins. No veiled threats dressed up as family concern. And then, 2:08 a.m. My phone rang. Olivia. Crying. No, sobbing. The kind of gut-wrenching sobs that skipped right past performative and straight into something is very wrong territory. Olivia? I answered, heart pounding. What happened? She could barely speak. Gasping like the words hurt. I slept with him. She choked out. I froze. What? I slept with Luke. She wailed. I'm sorry, Mike. I was angry and hurt, and he kept saying I deserved better, and it just happened. My ears rang. For a second, I didn't feel anything. Like someone pulled the plug on my nervous system. When? I asked, voice hollow. A few days ago. But that's not why I'm calling, she said, rushing now. There's something else. Something worse. Worse than screwing my ex behind my back? I thought, unable to speak. She continued, panic tightening every syllable. After Luke told me something. He said he found out a few weeks ago that he has something. An STD? He wouldn't say what. Just that I needed to get tested. My mouth dried up. I sat up straight in bed, already grabbing for jeans, socks, shoes. You slept with him a few days ago? I repeated. Yes. Olivia. I cut her off. I slept with him 2 days before the swap. Silence. Dead, thick silence. And then she whispered, Oh my God. I hung up. My hands were shaking as I called Will. He answered on the second ring, voice sleepy but alert. Ella? He mumbled, half asleep. It's Mike, I said. I'm coming over. Don't go anywhere. 15 minutes later, I was on his doorstep. The second he opened the door, I collapsed into him, adrenaline crashing. We need to get tested, I said. Both of us. His arms tightened around me. Okay. Whatever you need. We didn't wait. We drove straight to the clinic, the cold fluorescent lights feeling like judgment. Olivia showed up 10 minutes later, pale, shivering, mascara smeared. And Luke? Luke strolled in 5 minutes after that, yawning, baseball cap on backward like he was here to dispute a parking ticket. This is ridiculous, he muttered, sitting down. You're all overreacting. Overreacting? Olivia snapped, voice sharp enough to cut glass. You had something and didn't say anything until after? I told you eventually. Luke shrugged. Will leaned over. Right after isn't the same as before. Luke rolled his eyes. Wow, you want a medal for being moral now? A nurse called his name, and he stood like he was being asked to take out the trash. As he walked away, Olivia broke down again. I squeezed Will's hand. The nurse called me next. Blood. Urine. Questions about dates, timelines, symptoms. I answered them all like I was giving a police report. Don't spiral, the nurse said gently. We'll call in 48 to 72 hours. Will went in next. Then Olivia. We met again outside. The sun had come up, casting long shadows over a parking lot full of people trying not to panic. Olivia slumped against her car. Luke was gone. Will leaned close. 48 hours, he said quietly. We just have to make it through 48 hours. I nodded. But those hours would be the longest of my life. The next 48 hours crawled like a nightmare on crutches. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Every phone buzz made my heart jump like I was being tossed by anxiety itself. Will never left my side. He cooked. Cleaned. Played dumb game shows to distract me. Sat in silence when I needed it. Held my hand when I didn't ask. He was calm. Grounded. Said he wasn't worried. But I was. Because I had slept with Luke. 2 days before the swap. 2 days before he'd apparently learned he was carrying something contagious. And he hadn't told anyone until after he passed it along like a damn party favor. I was staring blankly at Will's TV when the call came in. Hi, is this Mike? I stood so fast I knocked over my water. Yes, I said. Yes, this is me. This is Dr. Warren from the clinic. Your test results came back. Can you just tell me? Please? She paused. All negative. I dropped to the couch, knees weak. Are you sure? Completely. You're clear. I thanked her. Then I cried. Hard. Gut deep sobs I couldn't have stopped if I wanted to. Will ran in, alarmed. Mike, what? What happened? I could barely get it out. I'm clean. I choked. Negative. All of it. He let out a breath that sounded like it had been locked in his chest since the clinic. He sat down beside me, wrapped me up, and held me while I melted. 10 minutes later, his phone rang. He answered. Listened. Then smiled. Negative, he said softly. Told you. We were both safe. But we weren't done. Because Olivia hadn't texted. I knew she'd gotten her results. She had to have. And when she didn't text, it said everything. Will offered to drive. I didn't argue. We pulled up to my parents' house an hour later, Luke's car already parked in the driveway. Olivia's car crooked behind it. We heard the shouting from the sidewalk. Inside, the living room looked like a courtroom, Olivia in the center, shaking, mascara streaked. Luke off to the side, arms crossed, defensive. My mom and dad on the edges, pale and confused. Then Olivia saw me. Everyone quieted. What's going on? I asked. She turned to Luke, eyes blazing. Tell them, she snapped. Tell them what you told me and refuse to admit to anyone else. Luke stiffened. I already said I'm sorry. Say it again. She barked. In front of everyone. Luke shifted uncomfortably. I have an STD, he muttered. I found out a month ago. I didn't say anything. I should have. My mom gasped. My dad looked like someone had punched him in the ribs. My mom turned to me in panic. Mike, did you? I'm negative, I said quickly. It's okay. And then, Olivia broke. Her voice cracked. Her whole body trembled. I'm positive, she whispered. I'm the one who wasn't lucky. Nobody moved. Luke's face went blank. I slept with him, Olivia said, tears falling. I didn't know. He didn't tell me. And now I have to live with it forever. You said it was manageable, Luke defended. It's permanent, she screamed. You broke me. You ruined me. No, Luke said quietly. You ruined yourself. You had someone good and you threw him away. He meant Will. We all knew. Olivia collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. And for once, no one went to comfort her. Not Mom. Not Dad. Not me. Because in the end, Olivia hadn't just played herself. She'd lost the one thing she couldn't fake, manipulate, or steal. A future that could have been real. I wish I could say that was the end. That Olivia sobbed out her last selfish tear, apologized to everyone, and found healing through journaling and a support group. But no. Because Olivia? Olivia doesn't lose. Not without trying to rewrite the ending. She sat there, curled on the couch like a broken villain mid-redemption arc, until the room went quiet again. My parents hovered awkwardly, torn between sympathy and the sudden realization that their daughter wasn't just dramatic. She was dangerous. Then she looked up. Eyes swollen. Voice small. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. "Especially you, Mike." I crossed my arms. "Unless you're here to thank me for not pressing charges on your disease-delivering ex, I'm not interested." But she continued anyway. "The swap, it wasn't spontaneous," she said. "It wasn't some spur-of-the-moment dinner idea. I planned it." The room froze. "You what?" my dad asked. She swallowed, voice cracking again. "Luke and I had been texting for a month before that dinner. It started innocent, him complaining about your relationship, me listening, but then it got flirty. And then I realized I wanted him. Will went still beside me." "You pursued Luke?" I asked. "While I was still dating him." She couldn't meet my eyes. "I didn't want to steal him and look like the villain. So I came up with the swap. If it worked, great. If not, we'd switch back and I could say we just drifted apart." "You manipulated everyone," I said flatly. "You made me hand over my relationship like it was a party favor, just so you wouldn't feel like the bad guy." My mother covered her mouth. "Will?" He just stared at the floor. Then Olivia added, quieter now, "I thought we'd be happy. I thought I'd win." She looked at Will then. "But I didn't know he was rich." The air shifted. My parents blinked. My dad said, "Wait, what?" Will exhaled and looked up. "I won the lottery. Months ago. Never told Olivia. Didn't want money to be the reason she suddenly loved me." Olivia closed her eyes like she was physically in pain. "I had him. And I traded him for this." She gestured toward Luke's empty chair like it had stabbed her. "I ruined everything," she whispered. "I lost the perfect guy because I wanted to win. And now I'm the one who's infected, alone, and broke." The silence in the room was suffocating. I looked at her and saw a person I didn't recognize anymore. Not my sister. Not even my enemy. Just someone hollowed out by their own choices. "You didn't lose because of Luke," I said finally. "You lost because you can't tell the difference between love and leverage. And now? No one's playing your game anymore." I stood up. "I'm done." Will rose too, his hand brushing mine, grounding me. My mom tried to call after us. My dad didn't. As we stepped out into the cold evening air, I could still hear Olivia crying inside. But I didn't feel satisfaction. Just closure. And in that moment, I finally understood. Some people don't break your heart. They release you from it. 3 days after the explosion at my parents' house, Olivia went dark. No calls. No texts. No dramatic voicemails. No drive-by guilt bombs. Nothing. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt haunted. Not by what she did, but by the quiet. Because Olivia never goes quiet unless she's plotting. So when she messaged me at 11:41 p.m, "Can we talk?" Just us. I knew something was coming. But I said yes. Maybe I needed to hear her say it out loud. We met at a little cafe off the highway. Neutral ground. Public enough to stop her from flipping tables, quiet enough to hear every word. She looked tired. No makeup. No designer armor. Just a hoodie, faded jeans, and a face that actually resembled the girl I once shared a treehouse with. "Thanks for coming," she said, voice hoarse. I didn't respond. She took a slow sip of tea, then placed the cup down like she was setting a bomb. "I want to apologize. Not the kind where I tried to get you to feel bad for me, or rewrite the story. Just the truth." I raised an eyebrow. She continued. "I sabotaged something good because I didn't think I could keep it. Will was too kind. Too calm. He didn't fit my version of excitement, and I didn't fit his version of peace. But instead of being honest, I gamed the system. I set the board, played my pieces, and lost. I let the silence hang long enough to make her squirm. "You didn't just lose Will," I said. "You lost everyone's trust." "I know. And you handed me Luke like a booby-trapped prize in a rigged carnival game. That STD? That was the confetti at the end of your genius plan." She winced. "I know. Then why?" I asked. "Why come up with this stupid contract and rope us all into your mess? Why risk everything?" She looked me dead in the eye. Because I thought I'd win, she said simply. I thought I could come out the other side with what I wanted and no consequences. And now? She exhaled. Now I'm living the consequences. Her voice cracked again. Mike, I can't undo what I did. But I wanted you to know. I get it now. All of it. I treated you like the side character. The easy mark. The older brother who wouldn't fight back. I never saw you. And now? You're the only person in this whole story who came out with something real. She stood up slowly. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just acknowledgement. I stared at her for a moment. This girl, who used to braid my hair with Halloween spider rings and sneak snacks during movies, was gone. Replaced by someone who looked like regret in a human body. And yet, I nodded once. That's all you'll get, I said quietly. But it's more than you gave me. She nodded too. Then left. No dramatic exit. No parting shot. Just a tired girl in a hoodie walking into the night she built herself. I sat there a while longer, staring into my untouched coffee. Then I pulled out my phone. One text. To Will, still up? 1 second later. Will, always. Come over. And I did. Because some endings don't need revenge or explosions. They just need a door that stays open. Will's apartment was warm. Not temperature-wise though, yeah, he'd learned how to set the thermostat like a human instead of a reptile, but warm in the way only certain spaces feel when the energy inside wants you to stay. I walked in. He didn't say anything. Just handed me a hoodie I'd left on his couch 2 weeks ago and gave me that look, soft, steady, that rare combination of curiosity and peace. Was she trying to win you back? He asked, sliding me a mug of tea. I shook my head. Not this time. She just wanted to admit she lost. Progress? Possibly, I said, sipping. But let's be honest. You don't heal narcissism with a single humble pie. Will smirked, then sat beside me. We didn't talk for a bit. Just sat, shoulders touching, watching the steam rise from our mugs. Then he said it, quietly but clear. You're not going back. Are you? It wasn't a question. Not really. But I answered anyway. No. I'm done with Olivia's games. With Nina's indifference. With chasing people who only notice I'm gone. Will nodded, eyes still on the mug in his hands. So what are you chasing now? I leaned back against the couch, looked around. The faint smell of garlic from earlier. A half-finished puzzle on the table. His dogged copy of Good Omens on the armrest. The kind of peace I'd never realized I craved until it showed up in the form of a man who made pasta from scratch and remembered how I took my coffee without asking twice. I'm not chasing anything, I said finally. For the first time in a long time, I'm just here. And I think I like here. Will didn't reply. He just leaned in and kissed me. Not urgent. Not dramatic. No fireworks. Just steady. Familiar. Like the beginning of something honest. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead on mine. You know, he whispered. Olivia's going to try again. Eventually. I nodded. Let her. You going to let her in? No, I said. But I'll let her watch. He laughed quietly. And somewhere between that laugh and the soft hum of the old playlist he always forgot to change, I felt it. Not revenge. Not triumph. Freedom. Real freedom. And the strange thing? It all started with a dumb dinner and a terrible idea. 1 month. 4 signatures. A contract that should have wrecked everything. Instead, it built something better. Something real. A week passed. Then another. No Olivia. No Nina. No frantic texts. No last-minute apologies dripping with manipulation. It was quiet. And that's when I started to realize something weird, something I'd never noticed when I was in it. Peace is louder when you've lived in chaos. I could hear it in the mornings now. The sound of frying eggs, humming off-key. The kettle whistling. The way he'd hand me coffee without saying a word because he knew I wasn't human until sip 3. I could feel it when we walked the aisles at the grocery store, debating over pesto brands like it was a life-altering decision. There were no eggshells to walk on. No cold shoulders. No scorekeeping. No. You owe me's. Just us. Living. Building something quietly, without ever declaring what it was. And then Olivia broke the silence. Through my mom. I was loading dishes when the phone rang, and just seeing Mom flash across the screen made my spine stiffen. I answered. Her voice was soft, hesitant. Michael, she said. Olivia wants to see you. Why? She says it's important. That could mean anything. I muttered. She sounded different, Mom said. Scared. Like she's really hurting this time. I sighed. She's been hurting. That's not new. Not like this, she said. She said she's not okay. That stopped me. Not because I suddenly trusted Olivia's self-awareness, but because my mom isn't dramatic. She's the kind of woman who once offered someone cookies during a house fire. If she was worried, it wasn't fake. I told Will. Of course he offered to come. Of course I said no. Because if this was another manipulation, I needed to face it alone. I found Olivia on a bench near the old playground we grew up at. She looked wrecked. Not performatively, not glamorously sad. Just ruined. Hoodie. Sunglasses. No eyeliner in sight. Hair in a low bun that was more function than style. I didn't know where else to go, she said when she saw me. I sat down beside her. Not too close. She took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red, not from crying. From exhaustion. Something's wrong, she whispered. I think I'm really sick. I blinked. You have the condition, Olivia. We already know. She shook her head. It's not that. I mean, it is. But I went to my follow-up and they found something else. Something more serious. They're doing a biopsy. The world slowed. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. There wasn't one. I'm scared, she whispered. And I know I don't deserve your help. I know I burned everything. But you're still my brother. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I just felt tired. You want my help? I asked. She nodded. Then you have to start by telling the truth. To everyone. Not just me. Mom, Dad, Will. Own it. All of it. What you did. Why you did it. No spin. No crying as a smokescreen. She hesitated. I held her gaze. You want me in your corner, Olivia? Burn the script. She nodded slowly. I'll try. Not enough. I said. Try with effort. Not with excuses. She exhaled. Okay. I stood. Keep me updated on the tests. But know this, one truth doesn't fix everything. It's the start line. Not the finish. She looked up at me with something that might have been gratitude. Or maybe just surrender. Either way, she watched me walk away. And for once, she didn't follow. The results came in 3 days later. Olivia texted. Benign. Scared me half to death. But it's benign. Then, after a long pause, I told them. All of it. Mom. Dad. Will. Even Nina. I didn't respond right away. Not because I didn't believe her. But because belief isn't the same as forgiveness. It's just the space you create when someone finally puts the knife down. That night my mom called. Her voice was thick with emotion. She really told us everything. She said. It was hard to hear. Harder to believe. But I think, for the first time, she meant it. And you? I asked. Where do you land? She hesitated. I'm still mad. But I'm also her mother. I want her to do better. And I think she's finally trying. I didn't tell her what I was thinking, that I hoped Olivia was trying, but I knew Will already had. Will didn't say much about it when I brought it up. We were brushing our teeth, side by side like an old couple in training, when I mentioned her confession. He just spit, wiped his mouth, and said, she needed to hit bottom. Maybe that was it. Then he kissed my cheek and walked out of the bathroom like it was just another Tuesday. That's who he was. Solid. Even. No flare-ups. No Cold Wars. No emotional trick wire. 2 days later, Olivia called. She didn't ask for a meeting. She didn't beg for a redo. She just said, I understand why you don't trust me. I understand why you picked Will. And if I ever want to be someone worth knowing again, I need to learn to live with that. It wasn't poetic. But it was honest. And from Olivia? That was a miracle. I told her she was on the right path. She didn't thank me. Just said, talk soon maybe. And hung up. And that's when I knew, the chapter wasn't closed. But the pen was finally out of her hands. Now it was mine. Ours. Me and Will. That weekend, we cleaned out my apartment. We weren't moving in together. Not yet. We were just consolidating. His apartment had the better kitchen. Mine had the better view. So we started joking about merging them like it was a startup. He even printed a mock logo. Mike Will, emotional stability, now in 2 floor plans. He's stupid like that. And I love him for it. When I walked through my place one last time, I paused at my old bookshelf. Tucked in the corner was a crumpled piece of paper. The contract. The stupid 1-month relationship swap contract Olivia had written. 4 signatures. Mine. Will's. Olivia's. Luke's. I held it in my hands. Looked at every loop, every scribble. 4 names. 1 lie. And yet, it brought me here. To Will. To clarity. To a life I never would have built if I hadn't been handed that ridiculous, manipulative mess. Burn it? Will asked, tossing me a lighter. I looked at the paper. Then shook my head. Nah. Let's keep it. Why? I slid it into a folder labeled Proof We Survived Idiots. Because this is the receipt, I said. Of everything we paid to get here. He grinned. Then kissed me so slow it felt like the credits were about to roll. But don't worry. This isn't the end. Not yet. We didn't move in together. Not officially. But unofficially? Yeah. My toothbrush migrated. My hoodie ended up on his chair permanently. His dogged paperbacks colonized my nightstand. One morning I woke up and realized I hadn't seen my own place in 6 days. So yeah? We were trying it out. And it was easy. Like, weirdly easy. Which made me suspicious. Because nothing in my life had ever been easy without some awful twist waiting around the corner with a megaphone yelling. Surprise! Emotional damage. So when Will came home one night with a small wrapped box and a nervous smile, I did not respond appropriately. I froze. Relax, he said, holding it out. Not a ring. Promise. I exhaled. He grinned. Well, not that kind of ring. Inside the box was a key. To his apartment. Figured we could make it official. He said, almost shy. At least on paper. I stared at it. A key? Just a key. But to me, it felt heavier than anything Olivia or Nina had ever offered me, because this one came with peace. No games. No contracts. No manipulation. Are you sure? I asked. I already bought another toothbrush, he said. And you did organize my spice rack alphabetically, which was honestly terrifying. I laughed. Then I took the key. Not because I needed access, but because I finally believed I'd belong. We spent that night like we always did, curled up, half watching a show, arguing about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. It does. He's wrong. At some point I dozed off. I woke up around 2 a.m. to the buzz of my phone. Unknown number. Curiosity got the better of me. I answered. Silence at first. Then a voice I hadn't heard in weeks. Nina, I said, sitting up straight. Hi, she said. Sorry. I know it's late. What's going on? She was quiet for a beat. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For not being what you needed. For not listening. For letting Olivia drag us all into her chaos. I blinked, surprised. She continued. And I know it's late. And I know it doesn't change anything. But I didn't want to be another person who vanished without owning their part. I swallowed. Thanks. I appreciate that. I saw you too, she said. You and Will. At the park last week. You looked happy. I smiled despite myself. We are. I'm glad, she said. I don't think I ever really saw you. But I see you now. And you deserve good things. The line was quiet after that. Then, goodbye, Mike. Goodbye, Nina. She hung up. I stared at the ceiling for a long time after. Not sad. Just done. Another loose thread tied off. Another ghost tucked away. When I told Will the next morning, he didn't get jealous. He didn't get weird. He just said, "Closure's good." And poured me coffee. God, I love him. A month later, I stood in the kitchen of our shared apartment, Will's place, now mine too, making pancakes on a Saturday morning. No chaos. No contracts. No one silently calculating what they could get out of me. Will wandered in, hair messy, hoodie half-zipped, and wrapped his arms around me from behind. You know, he murmured, I keep waiting for someone to pop out and ruin this. I flipped a pancake. That's because someone usually does. He chuckled. Not this time. And he was right. Olivia faded. Not overnight, but slowly, the way noise does when you finally close the window. She texted updates from time to time. Neutral. No drama. No begging. Just distance. Nina disappeared entirely. A quiet ghost, no final act. And me? I let it go. The anger, the hurt, the need to prove anything to anyone. Because I had everything I never realized I needed: peace, partnership, mornings that felt safe, and a man who knew I hated cilantro and loved exactly 3 raspberries in my yogurt. After breakfast, we sat on the floor eating pancakes off paper towels, music playing low in the background. You happy? Will asked. I looked around, at the quiet, the warmth, the life I didn't expect but finally chose. Yeah, I said. For once, I didn't lose the game. I just stopped playing it. He leaned over and kissed me, soft and sure. Because sometimes the best thing your sister can do for you is steal the wrong person, so you can find the right one.